Shamuntu?
I was the national coordinator when we started the party. But when I took the flag of the presidency of the country, I relinquished that position because our constitution requires it to be so. Yeah. So our constitution, once you are the leader of the party, you cannot run for any other active office. You cannot run for the presidency of the country, for example. We just wanted to immunize the party, considering our history as a country. We thought we need to immunize the party early enough, right as it starts, and then build that culture within the party, so that the party leader concentrates on building that party to be robust, to be able to back up all candidates, right from LC1 to the president of the country. That the concentration is there, that the party is strong, that it can marshal resources, financial as well as human, so that when we are contending in the electoral process, we can have adequate representation and those who go through, and therefore we can manage.
There has to be
at the village, at the parish, the sub-county, the district, until national level.
How far is that journey solution that Mr. Mathias Mpuuga is providing? Because he says, I'm bringing the Democratic Alliance, which is simply a platform to bring together all political actors of the same thinking. Now you are talking about individuals that think the same way, perhaps are going to sell the same values. Isn't this the right platform that you should be able to exploit?
Well, right now our main focus is on the organization itself. Because every organization has got its objectives, it has got its own values, has got its own strategies. The one that you've talked about, I think it is called what?
The Democratic Alliance.
Democratic Alliance.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it's only like 2 months old now. So they'll have to sell their views. They'll have to convince the public as to who they are, what they stand for. And if the public reads them, and even the rest of us who are actors, recognize that what they present is consistent with what they are, then they can convince people to go to whatever they want to do.
No,
but right now,
yes,
because you have to, you most times, most people in politics follow what we say. My own perspective is you need to take time to study, because all of us can say anything. You know, the Americans say that talk is cheap. All of us can say anything. All of us politicians, we market ourselves. I always want to study what people do, not what they say. Now, when I read that there is consistency between what they say and what they do, then I'm convinced. And that should apply to all of us. If, for example, they read in me that I am a person who says one thing and does another, that means that there's conflict between what I say and what I do. That should definitely undermine the trust that people would put into me. That's what it should be with everybody in politics. If you are going to build a country that establishes that culture of trust in leaders, don't just follow people because of what they say. Follow them when you recognize that there is consistency between what they say and what they do. Because when there's that consistency, then that becomes a firm foundation on the basis of which you can trust them. But, you know, worldwide, politicians, we market ourselves.
That's true.
Yeah. And we study the psychology of the population. Most times we know what they want. So we talk around what they want. But many times you can talk around what they want. But when your intention is to do something completely different from that, and the population many times keeps on getting burnt. But one hopes that it's also a learning process. That we're going to reach a point when opinion leaders, because there are people who influence political opinion, who may not even necessarily be participating directly. You have people who are involved in cultural institutions. You have got people who are involved in professional bodies. You have got people who are farmers, religious institutions, business people, who have got their direct interests that need to be served by the governance institutions, who may not come into politics to run for office, but who want to see a stable country, a country with systems of justice, a country where there is fairness, a country where there are good tax regimes, a country that will serve their interests. ordinarily in a country which is politically developed, those influence opinion. People can sit back and say that woman can be trusted if she becomes a mayor, or if she becomes a minister, or if he or she, if it's a man, becomes a president. Ordinarily, they are the ones who would influence opinion because they would take their time, study, and see, can this person be trusted? If the moment you reach that level, then politics stabilizes. Then people can get good leaders. Until that happens, it will be by chance that good leaders emerge. Yes, and therefore, it means that society is vulnerable. It's just simply waiting for a chance to get someone good. Getting someone good needs to be conscious and deliberate. And those who will influence opinion would need to work day and night behind the scenes to see how they can influence that opinion. That's how countries stabilize. That's how countries develop. Through conscious, focused effort.
Okay. General Muto, let's stop for a break. When we come back, more of the discussion. Don't touch your radio. We'll be right back. Good morning.
It's tough. It's bold. It's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great friends.
Real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great friends.
We are right back, 23 minutes past 9 o'clock on Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music, great friends. It's about 23 minutes. Yes, my name is Wesige Banyaji. With me in studio is General Mjisha, who is the flag bearer, former flag bearer of the the Alliance for National Transformation. We've also been joined by Honorable Gerard Karhanga, who is a lawyer and the spokesperson of the Alliance for National Transformation. Say hello to the listeners before we get into it.
Thank you. Good morning. My apologies. I'm glad to be here and discuss issues that certainly will impact the development and the progress of our country, but more particularly about the building of a very unique party, the Alliance for National Transformation.
All right. Welcome, Honorable Gerard Karhanga. Now, to be a part of the conversation, you'll be able to call in on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. Go on YouTube, type in Cruise TV. Seamless like that, you'll be able to watch the show entirely like that. I have Peter Mpaka with me. In studio, I also have Jisha Celestine. These are members of the Alliance for National Transformation and the National Interplatform. Let me first go back to General Muntu before I get to engage Honorable Gerard. General Mujisha, you've talked about the aspect of selling out the intentions of a good country, you know, having good tenants where people, especially in all other different sectors of the economy and, you know, spheres of life, get convinced about where the country is headed. But it looks like I've stated it to you that people hear it, they accept the message is what is, you know, the country requires, but don't go ahead to act towards that kind of message that you're selling out to the people. What must you do different? Because because that was the lacuna within your own party, where, you know, you're saying let's build structures, and they're saying the structures will not work because they are not creating the kind of results that we expect. If what you believe in is not creating tangible results, both in the short term and the medium term, what is your plan B?
At times it's the nature of human beings. There are times when people may not look at the solution that is the right solution out of a challenge. And then there are times when they do that, and it is always faster for that solution to be applied. But also times when they are not able to see it immediately. So they try many other options and they don't work. It takes longer, but whether it's in business, whether it's in politics, or wherever it is, when people try different options to sort out a challenge and it doesn't work, many times they start recognizing where the real solution is. It's part of nature. It happens all the time. And I would like to suspect, I suspect that even in politics, it eventually happens. Now, for those who pursue strategies which are correct, which, if applied to a situation, can solve the problem, the only thing they need is patience and persistence and consistent focus. If they don't vacillate because people have not seen your point, you keep at it. Eventually, people see it.
Okay.
Yes.
Does that then vindicate you of what's happening within the FDC because you are there as president?
To be honest with you, I never want to talk about sister
but you'll
parties.
never run away from those facts because it's a part of where you come from. You
Yes,
know, this has been a journey for you.
Yes.
And now these are some of the contradictions that were within the party where you were president, an election was conducted, you lost that election.
Yes.
You literally protested out of the political party, formed your own political party. Now, does that really say Mujisha Muntu is correct going by what's happening within the party? After all, you could have foreseen some of these aspects.
You know, two things about my involvement with FDC. One thing I feel proud about in my participation in FDC was the consistency in which we applied internal democratic practices. Because I participated in 5. And I was a key actor in establishing that culture within FDC that would compete. Competed, I think, 2009, 2010, 2012, 2015, and 2017. And we had started establishing a system, one, where there would be countrywide campaigns amongst the delegates. In the process, it would attract the whole country. The whole country would be glued on the internal dynamics of the politics of FDC. So we were building a new culture, really, internal democratic practices within a political organization, even when there was a lot of pressure. I remember they would even have open public debates, which would attract literally the whole country. It was like there was a national election. And in the sense that in the 5 competitions we held, I lost 4, I won in 1. Every time I would lose, I'd go behind the candidate that would have won. And collapse the campaign team and would now galvanize our effort around the party That was a process of building a culture and would overcome whatever acrimony would have arisen within those competitions.
Why wasn't it the case when you lost against Patrick Amuriat? Why
Yes.
didn't you rally behind the person who had won that particular election?
Because of strategy. Because we had two different strategies. And to me, I had never looked at Dr. Chizabezje or when I competed with Honorable...
Amuriat.
No. I came after that. Nandara
Nandala
Mafabi
Mafabi,
in 2012, even when we competed with Honorable Amuriat. I wasn't looking at them as individuals. I was seeing them as representatives of a particular strategy, which was containing with the strategy that they represented. Because all those 5 times, I was representing one particular strategy. All the 3 were also representing one particular strategy. How do we take power? For them, they would say, let's go on the streets, organize, neutralize this, take out the regime, take power, and then in a more stable environment, we can go and build the party. Our strategy was, yes, that could work. But the only way you can effectively mobilize to oust a regime like this, you'll have to concentrate in the towns and cities. Because you cannot go in the village and mobilize someone in the village to go and demonstrate. They simply won't understand you. And yet, for us, we knew that 30% of the population is what is in the cities. 70% is in the rural areas. And therefore, our strategy was, look, you concentrate in the cities. If we succeed in taking power through defiance, it's okay. Then we take power. But in the event that we don't succeed, we always go through electoral cycles. Now, when we get towards elections, we had better be very well organized at the village, at the parish, at the sub-county, at the constituency level, and the district level. We need to have good candidates. We need to have good party operatives at all those levels who organize candidates. Because we believe that when we would be effectively organized at that level, our strategy was cut this regime by the roots. Because when a tree, however large it is, has no roots, that tree cannot stand. So we therefore believed that when you have got that party infrastructure which is active, you have good candidates, you can actually participate, take like councillors of ROC3, councillors of ROC5, get mayors, get that lower level structure. That would give you momentum that can enable you to win parliament and also win the presidency. But our colleagues didn't think that in this environment it would work. We believed it would. We still believe that it can work. That's what we're working on. Now, the problem is that we were not mature enough on both sides to use both simultaneously in the same party. So we literally became like, like almost like enemies, to be honest with you. Because when we reached a point where people thought that we were using that because we were massaging the regime, some of them went to the extent of saying that we were actually agents of the regime.
Exactly.
So when the contention reached a point where we recognized that even if we were to stay, the party would remain paralyzed and would neither advance and become effective in organizing in towns to take power through defense, nor would it go down and build the infrastructure as we desired because of the internal conflicts which had caused paralysis. So when we competed in 2017, I competed with the Honorable Oboi, and he clearly won. To us, the signal was that the delegates basically were saying, Muntu, your strategy, we hear it, it sounds beautiful, but it can't work.
And indeed, it was translated into the results in the election because
yes.
the FDC was able to garner about 32 members of parliament
yes.
after that election, subsequent election.
Yes.
The aunt wasn't able to even obtain one.
That's a different question, though. We need to exhaust the first one first.
Please.
Yeah, because in that regard, we found that if we stayed, we would keep fighting because it means that we would have gone down to organize within the party, so it would take the next competition after 5 years so that we would take the helm of the party and swing it again to our direction. Now, we knew that the country is not going to wait for us to solve our internal problems as FDC. And we also knew that the contention within the party at that time being the leading opposition party, once it creates paralysis, we didn't think that it would be the correct thing to do. We went around the country, got opinions around the country, and we decided we needed to part ways. Now, when we were parting ways, because I called the Honorable Oboy, we met, 3 people on both sides, 4 people, gave him our report of our findings, and told him that where we have reached, we think the best option for us is we separate. They didn't understand that. We said we don't mean any bad towards you, and it will be shown by how we act even when we separate. We proposed that we have a team that would manage the conflicts post-separation. Unfortunately, they didn't take it up, so we had to bear that ourselves on our side. Because I promised him 3 things when we separated. I told him, one, we want to the reasons were that we wanted to avoid paralysis so that they could concentrate on one strategy as a party. And we said if they can effectively concentrate on defiance and they take power, we'll be ready. If they invite us, we can go and discuss how to manage power, both. So we said, you have elbow room to do whatever you want to do. So we don't hang around and then we become a problem for you. So we separated. I promised him 3 things. He said, we will not undermine you, we will not provoke you, we will not attack you. Now, unfortunately, we didn't get that committee that could have managed the post-separation process. So when we as we started Alliance for National Transformation, we could see the complication that there could be, politics being what it is in this country. There is a lot of acrimony. So we took it upon ourselves. We said, look, there can never be any one-sided war. So we said it is incumbent upon us to exercise the utmost discipline because we are going to be attacked day and night. And it happened. A lot were thrown at us. But we knew that the moment we exercise maximum restraint, we could weather that storm, which happened. Because we were under consistent attack for almost 6 months. So when there was no return salvo, when we didn't respond, we kept quiet, continued doing the things that were necessary for us to do in our own interest. The fire against us ceased. And since that time, we've never attacked FDC, we have never undermined it, we never confronted it in any way. So that fire ceased and we continue doing our own things.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll get back to you on the conflicts within the FDC, but let me engage Honorable Karahanga here. You are one of those that decided to, follow General Moon to the Alliance for National Transformation. Unfortunately, you did not get back your position as Member of Parliament for Untungama municipality. What does that make you feel?
Firstly, we need to examine why do we join politics? Why do you wake up one morning and say, instead of being a good farmer or focus on something else completely or entirely, let me engage in politics. I think for me that informs and becomes like the epicenter of what primarily makes me make the very decisions that I make. So in my personal perspective, the very reason why I chose to join politics was to see a total transformation of this country. A country that has a lot of potential in terms of both human and natural resources, but has a lot of poverty at both ends. And so, and I said, look, what can one do? You could choose to remain an actor. I was in Parliament twice as an independent member of Parliament.
Yes.
It's true, yes, we had good friendship, just like Radio says, great music, great friends. We had good friendship, or great friendship with FDC, some of us who are independent. But that was
No,
was
at least the listener should know that you were a member of the Forum for Democratic Change, not just by association. We know that in Makere you were guild president on the flag bearership
Yes.
of the FDC.
Very, very true.
And we actually know you for being a member of the FDC
Thank
until
you.
the recent of times.
Thank you.
Yes.
And so I realized that it's very, very important to get together with colleagues and put together a great institution that is so well entrenched in values, that is focused on the real transformation, not just in terms of words or campaign rhetoric, but that it really means what it says. And so, and that's how we came to join colleagues and build and start this wonderful organization. Now, I heard you say, well, some members didn't really come. Most those of us who ran indeed on the NT ticket, we didn't make it to Parliament. But you see, there are two things here. One is actually just so primary, so critical that for one has to all you can do in politics, or all you can do as a leader, is to focus on just having a position. Or if you really mean it, you want to focus on supporting or putting efforts towards building an institution. And that institution should be strong enough, should be robust enough to transform this country. And then two, it was obvious, of course, what transpired. You very, very obvious. I mean, assuming I had to lose in Ntungamo, there is no way probably Honorable Mwiru would have lost in Jinja, or Honorable Kasiano would have lost in Arua, or Honorable Ali Salaso would have lost in Serere.
Wasn't it a rejection of the party? Basically?
No, completely different. Completely.
Perhaps we should know why entirely. Those
there
that
was,
were in Parliament.
and it's known. We eventually got to know about it, but we had also gotten rid of it. There was a deliberate effort. You see, for many people now, they just see, because you see NT and then you think, oh, this is still a young entity. Where is it? Where is it? For those in the regime, knowing the core and how organizations operate, and once you have a strong core, a very formidable core, you only need a matter of time, then you really capture regime and you capture government and change a regime. So they came for us. We knew it, and we were very willing to pay the price, and we're very proud of it.
Okay.
Because what matters is the Ugandans, the country at hand. It's not just me or another individual being in Parliament. Anyone can be in Parliament. But what is so critical is, do we care enough to sacrifice what we can to put together an organization that can transform our country?
Okay. Honorable Karhanga, let's stop for a break. We'll be right back.
It's tough. It's bold. It's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great friends.
The Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music,
Great music.
great friends.
Great friends.
All right, it's a quarter to 10 o'clock on Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Cruise FM, great music, great friends. My name is Wesige Banyaji. With me in studio is General Mugisha Muntu, the former flag bearer, Alliance for National Transformation, a political party in our body politic here, and Honorable Gerard Karhanga, who is a former youth member of parliament, from Ntungamo Municipality. He's the spokesperson for the Alliance for National Transformation. I have Peter Mpaka, who is a member of the National Interplatform. Before we went for a break, we were trying to assess, the impact of different political actors choosing to take on ANT as their vehicle to Parliament or the different political positions. Isn't it a pity parting, General Muntu, if a party like the Alliance for the National Interplatform, just a few months, gets to use another political party, gets registered? We saw what happened, is able to have about 57 members of parliament within a very short span of time. The Alliance for National Transformation was before this political party was formed. Is able to have these numbers that ANT is not able to galvanize and have these members sent to parliament or at the local government. Isn't that a real pure pit party? Not going to the gist of the matter.
I don't see a problem with that. You only have to understand the dynamics behind what was happening on the side of NUP, what was happening on our own side, and what was happening at the national level, and also the state actors. One, when we had two different strategies, and the regime also had two different strategies against us. As you may notice, the regime's focus on NUP was contain it within Buganda, where it had developed momentum, undermine it everywhere else in the country. Ensure that you do all possible using state machinery for it to almost seem to be an enclave party. And also, after elections, because they could not withstand the momentum within Buganda, and NUP, because Buganda shifted, the population shifted. Whatever the regime did, putting money, trying to destabilize, they could not withstand the momentum from within Buganda, which had got tired. So fortunately for NUP, they managed to get the 57 members of parliament. But you can see the subsequent actions of the regime. Ensure that you do all things to destabilize NUP. Go against it frontal. Destabilize it. Do all things to make people get scared of it and contain it. For us, the strategy was different. The method which was used was more subtle. Many people don't even understand it. While the regime focused on all the potential candidates that could have become members of parliament, like Honorable Gerard Karhanga, I was involved in the Ntungamo election because that's where I vote from. They just simply rigged him out. The army vote. They had a unit of the army there, on which guards the homestead of General Museveni in Ntungamo. There's an army unit there. It voted so many times on different voting stations. I confronted a particular officer. I said, "What the hell are you doing?"
But these are some of the things that you should anticipate
yes, I
in
knew.
an election organized under this same state.
That's a different point.
Yes.
Once we resolve the one we are on, the issue of strategy, we can also talk about that. And he told me that we under orders. So I could see that there was no way almost that that election could be salvaged. Same thing happened to Honorable Kassiano Wadri in Arua. Same thing happened to Muiru. Same thing happened, they used different methods in Syria against Ari Salaso. We had, for example, candidates in West Nile, Terego, Martin Adroa, who was For him, they eliminated him at the point of nominations. He would have taken that seat. I've got a lady like who was in Madiokoro, Gororia, who had been registered. She was going to take that seat. They went and intimidated and bribed the two people, the one who had nominated her and the one who had seconded her, to write the Electoral Commission claiming that their signatures had been forged by her. I mean, something so blatantly. Nobody can forge someone's signatures who's going to nominate them. They deregistered her. We could have got like 10 seats or so. But one thing they were targeting was that, one, we don't get members of parliament to get visibility. Two, that the moment we get members of parliament, we would get financing from the consolidated fund.
Yes.
And that terrifies them, because they know how we organized we are.
Does
how
that mean,
disciplined
General
we
Muntu,
are, how
that
focused we are?
that the Alliance for National Transformation is a bigger threat than any other political organization?
I don't want to say that. Time will resolve a number of issues.
Because what
most
you're
of
saying
which are
literally
unknown.
it means that what you've explained entirely means
see, whatever-
we are a bigger threat than any other political
For me,
organization.
I know, whatever terrifies them, whatever actually is terrifying the regime, will come to happen. One, there's no way they can block us in terms of managing, raising resources. Gradually, we'll be able to raise resources. And through the work that we do, there is a point when we'll build momentum. Those are two things they will not stop. So it's just a question of time. Now, with the benefit of hindsight, in the future, people are going to look back and understand exactly what happened to us in 2021. The only thing that should give people confidence is that we are not people who give up. We are people who are focused, who are disciplined, who remain doing the things that we believe are necessary and the things that are important to be done for us to contribute to the change process in this country. So, and therefore, you can see that there are two dynamics between the two organizations.
Okay.
The good thing is that we relate very well with the National Unity Platform. Because the other strategy the regime does is to create instability between parties. We have consciously and deliberately ensured that we don't have any conflict between us and the other opposition parties that we have confidence in, that they are genuinely in opposition. We don't accept to be involved in conflicts with them.
Okay. General Honorable Karahanga, certainly the 2026 election is forthcoming. The state is not about to change. The military is still going to be as overzealous as it can get. And the Electoral Commission, headed by Justice Simon, is still going to be the Electoral Commission. And you're still going to be a member of the Alliance for National Transformation. The odds are against you. Are you going to do what Paul Mwiru did, accepting that, I believe in General Muntu's ideology and the party, and I know how organized this party is and the intention they have for Ugandans, but it's not going to deliver me to the promised land. How about I jump ship? I'd rather go to Parliament and sort the rest when I'm in the August House.
Firstly, it should also be known that we have candidates who actually won. The district chairman of Terego, Wilfred Saka, is a member of the Alliance for National Transformation. We have so many councillors at the district levels across the country. We have a mayor. We have leaders. And so, you could very easily rush to making conclusions on a number of things. But the truth remains that if you are deeply entrenched in terms of wanting to establish an organization that is principled, that has a great base of values, that doesn't seem to be an exciting work. I mean, if you follow, let's say, our student days in student leadership,
Yes.
it's very we would do that very easily, excite people and have rallies, and people would come in Southern.
But that's important for politics.
Very, very important.
You have to be charismatic.
Very, very important. And the charisma is critical, because again it helps to pass on the message.
Yes.
However, if you want to build a lasting and a deeply entrenched organization, you sometimes want to use an approach that is subtle, that is keen on identifying the very character of leaders that can actually cause the change or influence the change that you would like to see in the country.
Honorable Karanga, aren't you failing on emotional intelligence? Aren't you failing to read the room? The room of Uganda may be sending different signals. You're selling the idea of a very organized state and normal situation. These are very abnormal times. And you deploying normal tools in abnormal situations.
Incidentally not. I think you incidentally not, completely not. You know, if you care so much, again, to study the recent political history of our country, I mean, think about the elections we've had. Let's say previous presidential and parliamentary elections. The truth is, we've almost kept doing the same thing. And we tend to be excited in doing exactly the same thing again. And then again. And then we come back and do it again. And because the phase is so exciting, and then you see people show up, and then we come off as if we are about to capture power, and then we never do. So, but then we are tempted again to do exactly the same thing. And here I mean the dissenting voices. The people who want to see change in this country, in the politics of this country.
Yes.
And so you want to pause and sit back with colleagues and put brains together and say, look, do we want to keep doing exactly the same thing and then hope that we'll get different results? Or we want to sit and say, we need to coin an approach that will indeed, as General said, will cut the regime by the roots? Because, I mean, what you are saying and what so many people actually say, we've done it. About 5 elections now.
Okay.
Excited the nation, had big rallies. We moved, literally kind of moved mountains, and then again we came back to the same position. So we said we believe in the Alliance for National Transformation, and we must change the tactics.
Okay.
We must change the strategy.
We're stopping for a break, General Muntu. When we come back, we still have an opportunity for 2026, where we shall assess you and give you a report. Let's stop for a break. We'll be right back. Good morning.
It's tough. It's bold. It's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great.
91.2 Cruise FM. Great music,
Great music.
great friends.
Great friends.
All right, it's a minutes past 10 o'clock on Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Cruise FM, great music, great friends. My name is Wesige Banyaji. I have a very great man with me in studio, General Mugisha Muntu, who is the former presidential flag bearer for the Alliance for National Transformation. Honorable Gerard Karhanga, former member of parliament in Tungamo Municipality. I have Mr. Peter Mpaka, member of the National Unity Platform. Atmosphere Salon. Looking for a perfect salon experience? Check out Atmosphere Salon and Spa. Whether it's a clean men's haircut, stylish women's cut, plating, braiding, pedicures, manicures, or full makeup glow up, they've got you covered. Located opposite Day to Day Supermarket on High Street. Call the numbers 0772 207 098 or 0700 538344 to book your spot. Atmosphere Salon and Spa, where beauty meets perfection. Go right at Atmosphere Salon to be able to get care of that. Now, the conversation this morning is the state of political parties ahead of the 2026 election, with a focus on the Alliance for National Transformation. Yes, before we go to a break, General Muntu wanted to make a supplement.
I just wanted to supplement on what Honorable Gerard Karhanga was saying. We recognize, by the way, that human beings are emotional beings. We also fully understand that politics is about emotions.
Yes.
And we understand that there is no way you can take power unless you have the numbers. And to attract the numbers, there are certain things that you must do that tap into the emotions of people. So that's inevitable in politics. But also recognize that you need, on balance, to do two things. One, the things which are exciting, but those always happen towards the campaign time, which is like in the last 1 year. We recognize that for you to succeed in the 1 year of elections, you would have had to do a lot of an exciting work before the electoral year, which to us is, once you go, for example, you are going at a sub-county level and you are meeting only 200 people. That's not exciting at all. You can't even attract the press. People don't even know that you are the sub-county doing any form of work. Yet it is necessary if you are going to deeply root an organization. Because the base of any organization in politics would be at the village, or in terms of cities and towns, it would be at the cell, or at the parish, or in the case of the cities, at the ward. Now, when you look at the results, for example, of Dr. Chiza Besigye in 2006, 2011, 2016, and the ones of Honorable Bobi Wine, 2021, as opposition,
yes,
they were close to 40% at the highest. Now, the question is, for that to be translated at the level of the lower levels, LC3 councillors, LC5 councillors, LC3 chairpersons, LC5 chairpersons, the moment we do grassroots work as opposition and capture the ground, that 40%, much as the presidential is manipulated, because it would ordinarily be higher than that. But suppose we go even by that figure, which is given by the Electoral Commission, and then you have it translated at the lower level. What would it mean in practical terms? It would have meant that the joint opposition would have, out of 2,000 sub-counties, would have 800 LC3 chairpersons. At the level of LC5, 147 districts, it would have about 60. Now you can imagine the impact that would have, even when the presidential vote is manipulated and the one who is opposition lead person doesn't take the presidency of the country. But with 800 sub-counties, you have captured 60 LC5s, and you concentrate effort there. And you show the difference in terms of service delivery. You show the difference there in terms of governance. You can imagine the momentum you'd build there from. The next election, there is no way the standing regime would withstand that momentum that you'd build.
That
So both have to be done.
that begs
Build
the
down,
question.
you create excitement
Yes,
at the top as
that
well.
begs a question
Yes.
on the unity within the opposition, because now that would be the answer to some of these problems.
Yes.
Because if General Muntu is getting a particular percentage, Honorable Chaguranyi is getting the other, Dr. Besje is getting some kind of percentage. How about getting together like we saw in TDA? And
Yes.
that also reminds me of a question. Is it a problem of individualism and thinking it has to be me, General Muntu, to be at the forefront rather than assessing the situation and evaluating of who is a stronger candidate? Why is it very difficult for you, General Muntu, to join hands with your counterparts in the opposition, to front one presidential flag bearer, to remove
Yes.
General Museveni in power?
You know, the most important thing is there to be close coordination and cooperation between or amongst the opposition parties, and for them to do analysis of the conditions prevailing in the political environment at that particular given point in time, and therefore design strategy according to those conditions which are prevailing. If the conditions require that you have one candidate, then you have one candidate. But you can also have conditions where you find that it is important to have more than one. Why so? Because there are times when you study the dynamics on the ground and you find that actually there are people who want change but who won't necessarily go behind one candidate for whatever reason. And therefore you find that they can vote, some can vote for candidate A and others can vote for candidate B. All of them in the opposition.
What is your current assessment?
If that is out the conditions on the ground, then you design a strategy towards that. You cooperate and have more than one candidate so that you deny the incumbent 50%. So that when you are going into a rerun, the one who would be the front runner on the side of the opposition automatically becomes the one candidate on the second round. But if once there is cooperation and understanding and a designed strategy, if it requires one candidate, you have one candidate. If it requires more than one, you have more than one. But you coordinate on the ground in the selection, for example, of candidates who runs where. You also ensure that you work together in protecting the vote in 35,000 polling stations. So to me, the most important thing, one is the building of trust, the building of bridges, and creating an environment of cooperation.
What is
and
failing
also
that,
being
General Muntu?
scientific in whatever you design, that you do analysis and then you apply the outcomes of that analysis in applying whatever strategy you follow. I don't see any problem with that.
What is failing that kind of working together? Because there's been name calling.
Yes,
General
it is,
Muntu
yes.
is an agent of the state.
Yes.
Amriata was given 300 million shillings.
Yes.
Bobby Wine, you cannot be with a kind of luxury is if he's not working for General Museveni. There's this kind of tags that have been labeled on different leaders.
It's a learning process, and it's also we operate in a very hostile environment because all the instability that you see within parties and amongst parties, a lot is generated from the regime. Now, unfortunately, on the side of the opposition, there are a number of leaders who have the skills, who have the understanding of the environment in which we're operating, who are able to manage it well. But there are also others who have not yet fully learned, and therefore it creates a lot of instability. It's a learning process.
Okay.
Yeah.
Honorable Gerard, the question I want to put on you, why don't you think that political parties actually concentrate on lower positions? Because imagine if ANT had 60 members of parliament, NUP had 80 members of parliament, the Democratic Party had about 40 members of parliament. You would have a big, formidable force in parliament. Rather than the focus on the presidential, isn't it high time that all these political parties concentrate on LC1, LC3, LC5, members of parliament, rather than having to focus on the presidential position that is literally tilted in the favor of one liberator, President Museveni?
Maybe you should have said that it is tilted to the tilter. So
Yes.
because the truth is, if you want to really cause a significant transformation of our country, particularly like in our own case, especially in the African setting, where institutions are still not that robust and strong, you'll mostly need executive powers. And whereas, yes, it's important to have members of parliament and a large number of parliament members of parliament for a given party, ultimately, you still need the executive, because the truth is, in young democracies like ours, even when you check the legal regime, the laws, you'll find there's still a heavy culture in terms of empowering the head of state. And so, if you want to go in and say, wait a minute, even that alone should be changed, then you certainly need a leader, you certainly need executive powers to do that. Now, coming to you about members of parliament or even
local council,
district leaders or municipal leaders, I think it's equally very important. And truth be said, if you check for us in terms of, let's say, the current leaders that we have as a party, as Alliance for National Transformation, the ones that we have actually are local council leaders, because again, our strategy is bottom up. Let's engage and build these grassroots structures, and then we keep moving up. So you need both, as a matter of fact, because if you only focus on one, and I mean, think about it. It's not like let's say in 2005, or even when the constitution was changed over the term limits, or even later when the constitution was changed over the presidential age limit. It's not that there were not a significant number of members of parliament from the opposition. The numbers were not enough, and honestly, if we had slightly more numbers on the age limit, we could easily have raised. Now we would have a different set of circumstances.
Yes.
However,
it would even be possible to impeach a president.
Yes. Wait.
Yes.
That's very true. It's very, very possible. However, you also need to learn in the practical sense of things how most of the colleagues actually also end up in parliament.
Okay.
Yeah. So when we take that into hindsight, into consideration, then you realize that, okay, yes, we need to push for parliament, but we also need to seriously push for presidents as well.
Okay.
Because that we missed. So whereas there is a window there, but we must also be very, very practical to appreciate that there is huge influence that the leader that has still the powers that he espouses and the influence that he holds.
Thank you. Before I bring in Parker now, let me get to General, a very important aspect that I cannot allow you to go without answering. At your time in 1981, when you decided to pick up arms and, abandon luxury jobs in any city across Africa or even in the West, you chose to go to Luwero to fight. And you did not wait for Bote or whichever government that was running the state, to dictate which kind of methods you would deploy to liberate Ugandans. Time and again, you've blamed the state of how entrenched it is, of how General Museveni uses the state to suppress the opposition and all this. We are heading to the 2026 election. We know the role of the military. We know that now the CDF is General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, who is up in arms in evading other foreign states. He recently tweeted that he would capture Khartoum. He wanted to capture Nairobi in 2 weeks. He's endorsing political actors, Mpuga recently, and he's active. This is the man that is commanding, literally, the operations of the UPDF, that man that have a role in the elections.
Yeah.
Why are you thinking that your methods would still work, knowing that all this is galvanized against you?
Yeah, one, I operate from the understanding that everything always is in a state of flux. We are always involved in a change process. All that you have said is as we know it as of today, right?
Yes.
None of us here, or yourself, not even General Museveni, can predict what is going to be the status of things next week or next month. None of us knows. It could still be the same. It could be different. What we concentrate on is to do things that we think are necessary for us to apply in the event that we take power. We don't get distracted from that. We keep preparing because we go by the adage that success comes when opportunity meets with preparation.
Yes.
Now, you never know when that opportunity comes.
Is the solution that you're providing now
Yes.
more feasible than what you had in 1981?
81, many of the things which were happening in 81 are happening even now.
Then why aren't you using the tools that you used in 81?
Because
they worked.
Because we used them then and we are still in the same mess. I know for sure that if we took weapons now and took power, and I keep telling people, I can never stand in the way of anybody who wants to use weapons. What I am sure about and what I tell most the young men who say, oh, Muntu, you are in the army, you are a general, just give us weapons.
Yes, we have a young man who is always on this show saying, you see, we can sit here for the whole day.
Yes.
What we need is one thing.
Weapons.
Weapons.
Yes. But we took them. We took power. So why are we in this mess? Because my understanding as someone who took weapons and also saw how we got derailed, the sense of entitlement that the use of weapons gives you, and also my full understanding of the character of our society, I know for sure that in our country now, most of the people who would be inclined to take up weapons and fight, 7 or 8 out of those would not withstand the influence or the power of weapons over them. Weapons I keep using this example. Weapons is like alcohol. You know, you can easily get drunk because of that sense it gives you. You know, I mean, you've seen even young people who are not yet experienced, who are trained like in intelligence, and normally they are supposed to conceal their weapon. It's not supposed to be seen, but they'll put it where it is supposed to be seen.
General Muntu, talking about weapons,
Yes.
one of your comrades is incarcerated in Rusida
Yes.
with an audio, whether legit or not,
Yes.
talking about weapons.
Yes.
Of why he wants drones and mortars to liberate Ugandans. He's in jail.
Yes.
What's your say? Perhaps now, if we presume that it is correct that this was the voice of Kano Besigye, he is planning to mobilize tools and overthrow government. This is literally your counterpart?
No, well, I really don't know whether what they are trying to bring against Dr. Besigye, whether it is not something that is fabricated, as they have always done. So we'll wait and see what evidence the state says it has. We'll wait and see. What I know in the use of weapons, one, it is legitimate. Two,
Yes.
besides the use of defense, besides the use of the electoral process. However, when you go in the route of weapons, much as it's legitimate, you have to know that it is a process. If you are caught in between by a sitting regime, as when we were in the bush, had I been arrested, for example, I would have known that if the state had gathered evidence against me, I would have been tried in the courts of law. If they had evidence, found me guilty, and I could be hanged for treason.
Yes.
It is something that you have to live with the moment you take that route. It's only when you succeed and take power that you find that you are not going to fall prey to that possibility. So that's the only difference between that route and the one of the electoral and the one of civil disobedience. The moment you choose to take that route, you have to factor that in your mind. But I can never, for example, tell any young man who says, Muntu, I want to go and take up weapons. I would have no moral authority to tell anybody who feels frustrated that don't take up weapons. I took them up. What reason would I give a person? I can only advise them, and this one I tell everybody who says that one thing I am sure of, that the moment you take weapons and capture power, you are going to start doing the same things this regime is doing. Because the majority of you who would have taken weapons will be as drunk as those who are there now. That's why I cannot take up weapons myself, Muntu. Because I know if we took up weapons and took power, I would still be in a minority.
We know certainly there are leaders in sub-Saharan Africa that took up weapons and have transformed their nations. Just close by in Rwanda, we know that General Paul Kagame took up arms, liberated Rwanda. We know where it is. Perhaps the weapons are not as bad as you want the listeners to think.
Then there you'd have to look at the mindsets of the leaders who take power. I mean, look across. If you give me a few minutes, let me first run through our history as a country. We have applied all manner of systems. We've been in a multi-party system of governance in the 60s. We had a one-party state. We had a military regime twice. Then we had what was a movement. None has worked. So the issue actually, in a large extent, while systems are important, there are also times when there is another problem besides the systems themselves, because we've tried all of them, none has worked yet. The character of leaders is a critical factor. Look at the global terrain. Because there's contention between the West, they say they are a democratic, liberal democratic system. You look at countries like China, which is not a liberal democratic system, but see what they have done. In their system, where you don't go on a rally and you campaign and they vote for you. They have got a party, it is by selection. But they have moved the country in 50 years from being a third world country into a first world. They built a system, but they concentrated on focusing leaders who are selected, who build that system, and their main concern is the building of China. So even on the African continent, even those who used weapons, the character of those who used weapons is important. What were they looking at? Looking at advancing the country or advancing themselves? That's what gives the difference when you look at those who used weapons on this continent.
Perhaps, General Mundu, what I can put to you, you've seen certain political actors, especially from the opposition, saying to the assessment of things, you cannot be able to change the state of affairs in a country working without empty NRM. How about working within NRM? We've seen Norbert Mao, getting into the system, trying to transform it from within. We know for sure it could have been grapevine that you were given an opportunity to serve as Minister of Defense prior for you to move to the opposition. You turned this down. Actually, that this would have been an opportunity for you to change things from within.
The minister was not mentioned.
Yes.
It was a cabinet ministry, but it wasn't mentioned.
Yes.
I'd like to give that correction. You have to look at the way we operate as human beings. There are those whose thinking and decisions are influenced by what they see around the time. Like now, there are people who look at the situation as it is, look at the regime, think it has weapons, it has got control of everything, the president appoints the electoral commission, and therefore you go by what you see. For us, we operate different. We see this situation, we see how it is, but we don't desire it to be that way.
So why not dialogue with?
We work to influence it to be what we want it to be. But others are influenced by looking at it and say, this is an impossible situation. And the adage, there's a certain adage which says that if you can't beat them, join them.
Yes.
For us, we operate from the premise that they seem not to be beaten yet, but they can be beaten. So you keep working on the beating of them. You don't let yourself be influenced by what you see to say these are unbeatable. Because if you make that conclusion that they are unbeatable, then you are done.
General Muntu, majority of your generation is in their evenings.
The what?
Your generation,
Yes.
you're in the evening of your time.
Yes.
You have a lot of time left. You're not young anymore.
Yes.
You can no longer run the spirit that you had.
But we are building something to last. To me, that's why I keep telling people, even if me, Muntu, didn't become a leader of this country, but I build a machine that when it takes power, it can transform this country, I would have done my part. So I cannot
Would you still blame a leader
Yes.
who says I am 65?
Yes.
And with my assessment of things, I think I do not have the zeal and the charisma to confront General Museveni and liberate Ugandans. Let me join him. Let me have a dialogue with General Museveni and see what we can do, because my time is fast spent.
If the person has made that assessment and made that decision, I have no problem. Because they live their lives, they determine what they do. I have no problem with that. I give them the benefit of doubt. If whatever they think they are going to achieve by that is achieved, if, for example, people think that they can welcome Museveni and bring about peace and bring about a smooth transition, so be it. Because the evidence of it is time is going to prove whether that assessment and that action is correct or not.
Do you think
for
it
me,
is possible?
I operate from, I doubt. Because, you see, for you to work with a person towards a desired objective, there must be trust. I don't trust these guys in power. I don't trust General Museveni. I don't think you can sit across the table and discuss and negotiate and come to something that will be of value to the country. And for you to collaborate with anybody, you must have trust. So to me, we spend more time working on ourselves because we know that there are things we can deliver to this country. Much as the situation may be seen now, the odds may be seen to be odds against us, it will change. Because we trust in what we are doing. We believe it is the correct path we are walking.
Okay.
Now, I am not attracted by factoring myself, because that's also another danger. If you factor yourself in, that's when age applies. To say now I am at 65 or 70, if I don't act now, I will never. No, I keep doing the right thing. If I don't get that opportunity of serving at the highest level, but I know that the one who follows me will act, then I keep building what he or she will use in being useful to the management of the country. I cannot now cross because time is running short on my side. But the others behind you who are younger. So keep building for them to be able to use that vehicle you are building to the advantage of the country when they are able to take power.
Okay, we have a young man in studio. Peter Mpaka, do you believe in this gentleman right next to you, General Muntu, in what he promises Ugandans?
Thank you, USJ, and I really want to appreciate General Mugisha Muntu and Honorable Karhanga for making time to come and offer us these insights. Now, first of all, I want to state clearly that we in the NUP and the ANT, we are scoring in the same goal. And that's very important, that we don't have friction. We are not antagonizing each other. We are all working on the same vision to liberate our country. Number two is that we have tried to convince General Muntu and the ANT on this principle, that a doctrine can be challenged, but a testimony can't be challenged. Results cannot be challenged because results give evidence. And I'm glad that in some of the submissions he has given, he is tending to shift to the application of both. That a leader, you must have two faces, or a leader, you must attract two groups. You must have a group of those who are smart, those who are very loyal, but you must also have a group of extremists and radicals who must spread your message like wildfire. And I will quote a verse in the Bible for the Bible readers. There is a rumor that actually General Muntu is born again, though it's not confirmed. So I know he will not.
No,
he will not hate.
We know that for a fact.
He will not hate
yes.
my reference to the Bible. So in Judges chapter 15, there is a great leader called Samson. Samson goes to the bush. He was surrounded by enemies, and he looks for foxes. I think they mentioned 300 foxes. It's not that in the bush there were 300 foxes only. There could have been even 10,000 foxes. But the foxes that radically took his message, because his message was saying, come, I tie you tail to tail, and I set fire on your tails. You run with my fire and go and burn the gardens of my enemies. There are foxes which were like, you see, we cannot. But there are foxes which came, and he was able to tie them and touch them, and they went and produced results. So for us, we want to really challenge ANT to create a faction of radicalism, because President Museveni is a radical. He's not going to just ignore and say, since Ant is doing smart politics, and he has given us the good testimonies of how Honorable Karhanga was smartly rigged, how in Serere they smartly rigged. So you see that at the end of the day, Ant needs to create a group of its own foot soldiers, and that's where where the NUP kind of produces different results with what ANT is doing, despite the fact that we are very experienced leaders. And I want to say it for a fact here that me, I'm a pastor. General Muntu, the pastors' fraternity in Mbarara is one of the group of people that supported you to the outermost. I have very close pastors who came, and they would even mention it on their pulpits, but some can't mention Bobi Wine on their pulpits. By the way, when you tell them Bobi Wine, they are like, they are going to break my church.
No, we
but
at least saw during the elections or campaigns, soldiers and the police officers would salute General Muntu, but would never salute Kano Messenger.
Yes.
Yet they serve together in the forces. So perhaps it's a mentality issue.
Yes. So most of these, my group of pastors, the friends I have, they said, but Muntu is practicing smart politics. This is church altar politics. This is discipline politics. We need him to come and abuse. You know, one of your compatriots, Norbert Mao, talked about Komanyoko politics. The pastors themselves are saying Mugisha Muntu should come and Komanyoko the fellow general. And then we will know that now the general is against the general.
Yes.
And that's what is going to cause the Samson fire. Because I can tell you for a fact that Ugandans right now want change. Ugandans, there is a bridge in Katete. Since you are around, maybe after here you can go and visit that bridge. A budget of 360 million has come out, but they are using steel beams. By look, I'm not even an engineer, but by look of things, I don't think those beams are going to cost 80 million. That repair they are doing will not even exceed 100 millions, but the budget says 360 millions. But the pastors were saying Mugisha Muntu is going to fight the corruption that we are seeing in this country. But you have the ant has remained in smart politics. The ant has remained in
white collar politics.
The ant has, and actually, because I can also tell you, Honorable Karhanga, for a fact, ngomulimbarara nyoni manya Celestine wenka nuwo muhagizo w'umwine
arhona nondijo musaza aporo tumusima
ogo no wakazo
no wa chiruhura. Yes.
Since the election, I've not seen any person come to my door saying that njowa auntie ninkushabango ijo tuhagire nango ijo to joining. I've not seen any person on Mbarara streets or in the market there as really a purple t-shirt. I know General Muntu as my inspirational leader or something like that. But we have our boys of NUP, baramba zuro bereti, baramba zure ovoro, omwe bayora na bwa kasasuro, omwe be karakasa mu because of this and that. So as you say, you are building momentum. You're building you're building the underground, the underground foundation for something that will come, and you're cutting the roots. This also needs to come out. So that's why I'm saying that as NUP has a group of loyalists that are around Bobi Wine, that are around the Secretary General, that are around the Honorable Senyonyi, they also have the other department of radicals. Maybe it would be good that ANT also creates a department of radicals who are going to run with the message, who are going to run with this ideology that General Muntu and Honorable Karhanga and all the other top leaders have.
Okay.
Because Ugandans want change. They are tired of hospitals that have no medicines. They are tired of roads that are too narrow. They are tired of this umeme, which is cheating us every time we are paying service fee every month. The same with water. They are tired of so many things.
Okay.
So I would really want you from maybe this show to go out and create controversy, because Abana-Uganda bagala byonone say you saw. Let me end with this point.
Yes.
This minister called the Abba, one time she came out and said, I want to take Fika Maika out. Oh, there was fire on the internet. How do you take Fika Maika out? Manya, it seems you are what? And in a short period, she had followers. And politics is about
Perception.
following
Yes.
and perception.
Okay, let's get to feedback. General Muntu is an ideal candidate who can thrive in ideal liberal democracies. Even some African countries we praise are being democratic only to ritualistic elections and transitions, but not democracy. Does Muntu think Ugandans have realized they will never escape their past of military men who cross into politics and mismanage their affairs if we do not get a purely civilian president? Because Ugandans are now repellent to people with a history like this, does he think his pursuit of hygiene politics is a solitary journey that he feels like a marathon without an end? Can he feel trusted for a man who took guns to overthrow a legitimate government but now speaks like a pope? This is Bruce Owakunda, who is listening to the show from Kampala. General Muntu.
Yeah, I really don't think that the issue of being a civilian or having been a soldier is the main factor. Because if you look at the past, the first president of the country, or prime minister, Dr. Milton Obote, was not military. And that's the genesis of the problems we've had subsequent to that. Cast your eyes across the whole continent. The first presidents of the country that led to the chaos that followed thereafter were civilians.
We can pick on Ghana, a civilian-led, until the coups had military leaders all through. But we now see what's happening in Ghana.
Coups are never inevitable. Coups are a consequence of the mismanagement of the civilians. Look at the East African countries. In 1964, there were mutinies in 1964 in Uganda, in Kenya, and in Tanzania. If I may use Uganda and Tanzania, what happened? In Uganda, the mutineers were promoted. In Tanzania, the late Julius Kambarage Nyerere, who was a civilian, called in experts, disbanded that army, started TPDF on a fresh foundation. So it is the mentality or the ideological orientation and the skills, management skills of the individual, whether civilian or military. So please, I don't think it's a question of being a civilian or being someone who has ever been in the military. I mean, if someone who is a civilian loves his country or she loves her country, the country will prosper.
But
if it is someone who's been in uniform and also loves his country or loves her country, the country will prosper. And if they have got management skills, those are the factors. The factor is not being civilian or military. Nothing at all.
What do you think of the people like me who think after 40 years of President Museveni being a military officer,
yes,
it would be very risky to transit to a civilian? Why not have a person like General Muntu, who first served in the military, knows the mind of the army, which is a very important institution of the state, to take over from President Museveni before any other civilian can be able to take over power? Don't you think it is important?
It's a factor. On the balance of things, if there is an understanding that whoever is going to transition this country from the mess in which it is to a stable foundation, that he or she requires security knowledge, whether military or civilian. Because you can have civilians who have an understanding of military security affairs. There are those who go and do university graduate studies in that field without necessarily being in the military. If that is found to be a factor, then the country would have to be looking for a person of that nature, whether military or non-military.
Okay.
Then it would apply. But after analysis, but if it is found that anybody can become a president and stabilize the country, they can also go in that direction. What am I trying to say? People need to sit back and analyze issues and be guided by the analysis that they make. They should not simply move on emotion. We are dealing with the lives of millions of people. Politics is an emotional thing. But those who influence opinion should not be moved by emotion. They should be moved more by reason.
Okay.
Yes.
There's a question from Deus Mukalasi that I think you should answer after the break. Auntie's approach and ideology is not clear. They claim there is no need to fight the regime anyway, that it will fall anyway.
No.
In the rhetoric of time.
Yes,
They focus on building structures and preparing to provide leadership. When this regime falls, they don't answer the question of how this regime will fall. And they don't explain how they will assume power if they don't fight for it. Do they think someone will fight for power and simply hand it over to them?
What's the name?
Deus Mukalazi. When we come back...
Deus has misread our message.
Okay, when we come back, you will perhaps explain, because they think, are you waiting to receive power on a silver platter? General Museveni did not get this power on a silver platter. General Butu, why are you wanting this very simplistic? Let's talk for a break. We'll be back. Good morning.
It's tough. It's bold. It's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great friends.
Politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great friends.
All right, we've come back. It's 13 minutes to the top of the hour on Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Cruise FM, great music, Great friends. My name is Wesige Banyaji. I have General Mugisha Muntu, former Army commander, former presidential flag bearer for the Alliance for National Transformation. Honorable Gerard Karhanga, former youth member of parliament, spokesperson of ANT, former member of parliament for Ntungamo municipality. And Mr. Peter Mpaka, he's a member of the National Unity Platform. Our conversation this morning is on the state of political parties with proper focus on ANT. Now let's get some feedback. Call in on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. Call in and let us know where you're listening to the show, but also the feedback on what you think about the topic of discussion this morning. On Cruise TV, Biamjisha Daniel, you're listening in all the way from Kahunga in Ntungamo. Nwajira David, you're saying the opposition is not ready for 2026 because of the money confusion from the NRM. You're saying that. I see Kagumere Obed, you're listening in from Uganda. I see Kenneth in Bushenyi. I Nebiona Arthur Singize Amos, who is saying, I'm asking our president, where are our offices in Uganda? You know, can we call it a card for Uganda? Okay, so Sylvia Ngumesedu, you're listening in from Kampala. Nwajira Jothan, Ntungamo municipality lost a good leader in Gerard Karhanga. Let's get to hear from the calls on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. The big set. Yes, caller.
Yes, once again.
Yes, good morning. What's your name and where you calling from?
I'm called Digodi also from Zaraka Nishiyama.
Yes, gentleman.
I always listen to your program on Saturday. Thank you for bringing us General Muntu. For me, I'm going to appreciate him according to how he explained your question that you've been asking him. I've seen him according to his views. He's a very patriotic man because he can test the man revenue. But because he is very patriotic, he knows each everything, the tax codes, the skills that they use in the booth chase the other man of both. But due to the fact that the man is patriotic, he knows each and everything, the economic influence in Uganda today. That's why I think he does not do the
okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Let me pick the final caller for now. The big seat.
Good morning, Wesige Banyaji.
Good morning. What's your name and where you calling from?
This we are talking with me, Kanyongo Zubaidi, Bala to Maris Arsenal Blood.
Yes.
You know, I'm always telling you that we have no opposition here in Uganda. We have a lot of political parties, but we have no opposition here in Uganda. Those of Muntu are just, for them, we are just wasting time, joking Ugandans that they came from nowhere to fight Museveni, but they are not managed.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get, first of all, General Muntu, you could perhaps answer Mukala's who says, it looks like General Muntu just wants to be handed power on a silver platter. You want to be appointed president. Yes, go ahead.
What they will say, be comforted. We are not sitting back. There are many things we are doing, much as they are not visible because they don't attract the press. When you are involved in grassroots work, you go, for example, at a sub-county, which is our main center of focus. You meet 200 people, 300 people. That doesn't attract attention. But once you go there and you talk 300 people, and you're able to get out 20 or 30 who are willing to participate in the party structures at the sub-county, at the parish level. That's not something that gets easily known. But if we had called for a rally and 100,000 people, then people would believe that, okay, ANT is doing something. But rallies come at the end during the elections. Our focus is that by the time we go into the rally periods, that we have got the infrastructure down. We've been to quite a number of districts in the country. The only limitation, of course, is still resources. We keep looking for financial resources. But at the moment,
have you though mobilized Ugandans to contribute to, your cause?
We are soon coming to that. We've been designing that, and we'll have to give a call out to the Ugandans for them to directly participate in terms of funding political work. We don't think that they should fund only NT, they should fund whichever party they believe in the opposition. Because again, people should not wait for things to happen by themselves, as Deus is saying. They must participate in giving money. Those who believe in JEMA do so, those who believe in NUP do so, those who believe in NT do so, because money is required for us to do the things which are necessary for us to cause the change which people seem to desire.
Okay. Yes. Honorable Gerard, as we get out of here, what message do you have for the people of Ntungamo municipality?
Okay. For the people of Ntungamo and Uganda at large, this country can only be fixed by us Ugandans. The challenges that we face are ranging from the huge unemployment of young people to very dilapidated medical facilities and sometimes even very little hope. Those must be confronted by ourselves. They are not insurmountable. They are within our means. I keep repeating that if the Almighty wanted us to be in another place, be born in other countries, He would have done that. The fact that He chose that we be here, we can work together, we can transform and have a different set of circumstances or facts for our country not very far from now.
Oh, okay.
So let's get together, let's build our country.
Okay. General Mjisamuntu, you have 3 minutes for your message, especially to the people of Western Uganda. But I can categorically state that the feedback I'm getting, literally, like the way we started the show, everyone says General Muntu should be our next president. He's the best competent individual we have to serve as president. But the votes don't.
They should not just say it.
Joab is a lawyer in town. He says he thinks General Muntu should be president, or in a transition, General Muntu should be president and Bobby Wine should be vice president. I have a Simwe Banjizi from Mitoma who says General Muntu carry on promoting your ideals of responsible and accountability and service-oriented leadership. General Muntu, keep your promises, your principles. Tomorrow there is hope. General Muntu, you've had it.
By the way, specifically Ankole, Chigezi, Toro, Bunyoro, the Western region is a critical factor in the change process if we are going to have a stable change. They really need to follow their hearts. One, there is a lot of frustration in this country. Change is inevitable. It always happens. Even here, change will happen. What we need to concentrate on and keep praying for and working for is to have smooth, stable change. General Museveni is operating from a platform of a sense of, one, impunity, doing things as if nothing will happen. Why? Because that state of mind is given that state by the support he still gets from the West as a bloc. Now, the West needs to understand that it is a factor in delivering this country across the bridge. A factor in the sense that if the West sends a very clear, strong signal to General Museveni that we've supported you enough, but this is it, because the country is more important than yourself, that we have got a future to look to. And therefore, now, don't get involved in the politics of the country to try to run as a president, because if you do, we are not behind you. I can guarantee you that that would wake him up. And I believe he'll start working for a smooth transition, which this country desires.
Maybe very finally, what do you think of General Muhoozi Kainerugaba?
He's still in uniform. He has to get out of uniform. If he wants to become a political leader of whatever nature, at whatever level, he has to get out of uniform. He's breaking the law. And I don't know
We've
whether
seen other military officers break the law and action is taken. Why is it very hard for the state to take action against General Muhoozi?
Because the president happens to be his father. Maybe he has an emotional attachment and it makes him incapable of acting on something that he should act on.
All right. I want to appreciate you, Honorable Gerard Karahanga. Thank you, Peter Mpaka. Thank you, General Mjisamuntu. It's been an honor to host you on Cruise FM. Merry Christmas. Let's meet next Saturday on the big seat. God bless you. We are out of here.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of this radio station or its management.
This radio is regulated by Uganda Communications Commission, UCC.